talk now about open air. And again, these are the divine remedies as to which God approves of: pure air, sunshine, abstemiousness, or temperance, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, and the one that we've already covered is trusting in divine power. Okay? All right. Here. So let's look a little bit more. It says in Genesis 1:6, and God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." It says, and God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And called the firmament heaven, sky, or atmosphere. And the evening and the morning were the second day. So again, we're talking about pure air. So we know that in the beginning, that God created the firmament, and we know that that firmament is what they say heaven or air. Okay? All right? So God creating the firmament is a most essential element to sustain life. Oxygen.
Mercy.
The strength of the system is in a great degree dependent upon the small amount of pure, fresh air that we breathe. All right? So our cells in our body requires 4 different things to live and function properly. And if we paid attention to this this horrible virus that just came through in the last 2.5, 3 years, we'll know that the one thing that our cells were not able to get was oxygen. Okay? So our cells need oxygen, water, and nutrition to be cleansed. If our cells do not have oxygen, water, and nutrition, our cells die. And what else happens when the cells die? Our organs die. And what else happens when the organs die?
We die. System failure and die.
System failure, and then we die. Okay? All right. So without oxygen, we can die in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
An individual can die in 3 minutes. Without water, you can die in a few days. Without nutrition, you can die in a few weeks. And without being cleansed, we can die in a few minutes or hours. Okay? All right. The oxygen is carried on the outside of the red blood cell to different parts of the body. Oxygen is needed for healthy blood and circulation because in almost every disease, there is a low level of oxygen in the cells. I'm going to say that again. In almost every single disease, there is low what in the cells?
Oxygen.
So there is a correlation between the amount of oxygen that is in the cells and sickness. Right? Okay. Let's continue. The lungs. Every minute, 5 quarts of blood pass through the lungs, receiving fresh oxygen and eliminating the carbon dioxide. This process requires 1 pint to 1 quart of water daily. Okay, so some of the benefits of fresh open air, of course, we just discussed it. It purifies the blood. It soothes the nerves. It helps digestion, gives us a refreshing sleep, brings life to the skin, and that is why it's best to always wear breathable fabrics or your natural fabrics also that have a positive influence on the mind. Okay, so if we do not have proper oxygen for the entire body, some of these things will take place, or we won't have these things. Purified blood, soothe nerves. Well, sometimes people are on edge all the time, especially when we wear synthetic fibers. It gives us a refreshing sleep. So the best thing is crack your windows at home. Even if it's just a little bit, it lets in some of the fresh air, because especially if we're at home on a regular basis, we're breathing in stale air. Okay? All right? And we can go more in detail. We're going to build on this. Open air, deep breathing exercises will help to reduce your stress levels. Fresh air has many health benefits. It improves the brain's ability to function, gives clarity to the mind, improves concentration, gives a sense of well-being by altering the brain's level of serotonin, the happy hormone, and promotes quality sleep, which is your melatonin, and oxygen to the lungs is like prayer to the soul.
Amen.
Okay, so it is very, very important to have fresh air. All right, so breathing exercises improve your mood. So low blood oxygen levels impairs muscle function, impairs metabolic function, leads to muscle atrophy, and leads to exercise intolerance. No wonder when people go to the hospital and they're in there for long periods of time, they don't have as much strength, right? It's the same circulated air in and outside every single day. There's no windows that are open. They have the temperature very low to supposedly cut down on bacteria and viruses and all of these things. But we are breathing in the same air over and over and over again. Okay? Okay. So if you can ever remember, every day we need to take in some deep breaths. We need to remember, that same breath that a person takes when they, their patience is getting a little extra. and you try to hold that in as long as you possibly can. This is not just for pure oxygen. It actually will expand your lungs and allow for you to be able to have strong lungs. It is very important for you to do that at least 5 to 7 times every day. Can we remember to do that? Let's try it a couple of times now. So sit up and...
So we're going to practice now.
That's right. Again.
Get the diaphragm moving.
In through your nose, out through your mouth. One more time. This is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Breathing exercises. What about the brain and oxygen? The brain uses 20 to 25% of the oxygen in the blood every single day. 20 to 25%. The lack of fresh air retards digestion, and the blood moves sluggishly through the system when it is not purified and vitalized by pure air. Perfect health requires perfect circulation. So if we're not getting proper oxygen to the body, then it's going to mess up our circulation. Okay? All right, cancer cells will usually die in a high oxygen environment. So that means we need to make sure that we are getting plenty of fresh air every day. The American Lung Association has declared that up to half of all illnesses are either caused or aggravated by polluted air. And this is one of the reasons why it is so important where we live. We're going to go a little bit more in depth with this. This is one of the reasons for a lot of the heart attacks that are taking place in the congested cities, because people are not getting the proper healthy air. They cannot breathe in the polluted air. Okay? All right. Inflammation in the body can be caused by inhaling impure air, which can actually affect the internal organs. The presence of chemicals which cause LDL to oxidize, and that LDL cholesterol can indirectly cause inflammation. The inflammation plays a major role in the progression of atherosclerosis. Okay, I'm going to skip some things here. Okay, effects of improper breathing. Weak and unhealthy system, poor circulation, blood moves sluggishly, depression, fevers, acute diseases, and poor digestion. And I think we went over those things, so we should know about them. So various diseases have been brought on by sleeping in these fashionable, health-destroying apartments. So if you live in an area where your bed or your bedding is damp, it is not good. So that's one of the reasons why usually when we make up our bed, we actually make down our bed. You know, because if you've been in your bed all day, all night, you wake up, you may have sweated, right? A lot of people perspire when they're sleeping. If it is that there is no sunshine getting into that room and purifying your area and your bedding, then you're going to go back to that same bed the next night, and you're going to go to damp, bedding that may have bacteria and things like that in it. So if you make down your bed, which means that you pull back the covers, right? Pull back the covers and allow for the sun and the light to come into your room, it'll allow for your bedding to be dry and clean before you go to sleep again the next day. Okay? And another good thing is, if you have sunlight in that room, open your curtains a little bit. Remember to let the fresh air in, and that will help to make sure that your area, your sleeping quarters are sanitized before you sleep the next day. Okay? All right. Those who do not open the home to pure air are sometimes irritable, sluggish, and all the windows are usually closed in the home. This will give chronic sinus conditions or respiratory issues, lack of good sleep, other illnesses, or an inability to stay alert. Okay, so you want to also make sure that you prevent, trees and things, how can I say, trees and things like that being close to your home. They allow for fresh air to not come into your home, because you want to make sure that the sun can shine into as many of the windows in your home, in your house, okay? If not, some people end up having issues with dampness and mold and other issues, all right? Okay. So, looking at different things that will do harm as far as you not being able to breathe in pure air is different chemical air fresheners. A lot of the plug-ins cause respiratory issues over time. Scented candles, if they're not used with essential oils, instead of using fragrance oils instead. Radon gas, pesticides, and we talked the other day about cleaning chemicals. When we're using these type of things, they will allow for you to not be able to breathe in pure air. Okay? Nitrous oxide, sulfur oxides, lead paint, asbestos, mold, carpets is a huge one, carbon monoxide. All right? So what can you do instead of using your regular spray chemicals? I usually use just vinegar. All you need is vinegar and essential oils. Vinegar has a means to be able to sanitize the area as to which you sprayed on. So you can use vinegar with many different essential oils that will cut down on the cleaning things like peppermint, lemon, lemongrass, eucalyptus, rosemary, whatever you have will assist with cleaning. Okay? Okay. All right. It says in Deuteronomy 23:12 and 13, thou shalt have a place also whither the camp, whither thou shalt go forth abroad, and thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it should be, when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. Why does God give this instruction? Say it again.
Proper sanitation.
Proper sanitation. He could have allowed them to stay in the camp and to use the bathrooms wherever they were. But there was a principle there. God knew, because he's the one that he wants cleanliness, he wants us to be clean and purified. So he would tell them, go outside the camp, way outside, and when you finish doing what you need to do, cover it up in the earth. Okay, cover it up in the earth. All right? Okay, we're going to continue here. So here's some plants you can put in your home to purify your home.
Nice.
You've got peace lilies, dung canes, spider plant, snake plant, dwarf banana trees, rubber trees, philodendron, and of course pine fir, or even pine and fir in your yard is always helpful. It will clear and clean the air around your home. Okay? All right. I'm skipping a lot, you guys, because we got a long way to go. All right. Exercise. The effects that exercise has on the body is muscle fibers contract and release. Your heart pumps more rapidly, and your lungs work harder to get more oxygen to the body. All right. Okay. You have increased enzyme reaction, nerve stimulation, and metabolic enhancement. Exercise helps you to burn calories, increase strength and endurance, feel better and have more energy, optimize heart health, and you live a longer, healthier life. Lowers your blood pressure and resting heart rate. It lowers your LDL cholesterol levels in the blood and raises your HDL cholesterol. It strengthens your bones by retaining calcium. Ooh, did you know that?
That's right.
So every time we exercise, it's like building a muscle. But you're not just building muscle, you're building bone. Okay? All right? And this is one of the things that a lot of people, as they get older, we start to slow down. And when we start to slow down, our bones begin to get a little weaker. And then, just one slip and fall, and then all of a sudden you broke a bone, and then it's very hard for an individual to gain back the functionality of that hip or that leg or whatever, as opposed to if we were continuing to be physically active, either you wouldn't have broken that bone, or if you did, it would heal normally, just like a person that was of youth. Okay? So exercising helps to strengthen our bones, and you retain your calcium much easier. And it also helps to lift depression. It relieves anxiety and stress, increases overall energy and efficiency in all areas of life. You maintain desirable weight levels and it improves circulation. All right? Okay. What is the best medicine for disease? Pretty much go outside and walk. Go outside and get some exercise, even if it's for a couple of minutes. Okay? All right. Digestive issues. It helps to soothe the digestion when we walk. It helps to improve our digestion when we exercise. Okay? So this is something that each one of us needs to do to make sure. So when's the best time to exercise? It depends. You do it early in the morning. Walking in the morning burns mainly fat. If you exercise in the daytime, you're going to be burning 50% calories and then 50% fat. Okay, because now your body has to break down. Now your body has to start to break down the carbohydrates that you put in. Okay? So if you are struggling with weight loss, the best time for an individual to work out or to exercise is in the morning. Okay, before you have consumed that first meal. And it doesn't mean that you cannot exercise again afterwards, but if you really want to lose some weight, best time is in the morning. Okay, before you eat. Okay? All right. Exercise also significantly improves blood flow to the brain, and it increases the neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine, which have a positive effect on mood and well-being. Okay. All right. So we can tell that this guy's really working out.
Yes. Let's see. David, what you like?
Don't you say that. He struggles with that.
Oh. I'm just saying.
All right. Okay, sunshine, and God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also, and God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from darkness. And God said that it was good. Okay, so sunlight is one of nature's most healing agents.
Amen.
Okay, so the water itself is being purified by the sun. Every day. God created everything to work with each other. Sunlight changes the cholesterol in the skin to vitamin D. Vitamin D is necessary for the absorption of calcium. Okay, so we usually call it a vitamin, but it's actually a hormone. It's a steroid hormone that stimulates vitamin D receptors that is the nucleus of the cell that regulate what we know now as at least 200 human genes in a wide variety of tissues, all of Okay, all right, so when we get sunlight, when it penetrates and goes on the skin, that now goes into the bone marrow, and that's how vitamin D is made, okay? So you have your precursor to vitamin D, which is the 125 hydroxy, okay? And then that's when vitamin D is created, all right? So we already talked about it not being a hormone, not being a vitamin, it's actually a hormone. Or so when the sun, we already said it converts cholesterol into pro-hormone, which influences the entire body, as there's a receptor for vitamin D in almost every type of human cell, from your brain to your bones. Okay? All right. So pre-vitamin D is carried to the liver and undergoes a process of hydrogenation from the liver. Then it goes to your kidneys. Look at all of these organs that are involved.
Kidney.
Everything is involved.
The kidney.
Yes. Okay, so it from the liver, then it goes to the kidney that activates into a substance to forming the active vitamin D, which is 125 dihydroxy vitamin D. Okay? All right. So, where one has kidney failure, vitamin D cannot be produced in the body.
This is Sister Mo. Did you hear that? Brother Paul? You need to get...
Vitamin D also facilitates calcium absorption through the small intestines.
Are you taking vitamin D?
Before he gets there, since they got a special gig.
So I would also be careful, because large supplementation of vitamin D, this is not God's creation, right? Large supplementation of vitamin D will also damage your kidneys. So just keep that in mind. I'm just keeping it real. Okay. Vitamin D stimulates insulin secretion, retards insulin resistance, anti-cancer, immune modulating, unless we have adequate stores of vitamin D in the immune system. It will be hypofunctioning, which means low functioning, allowing individuals to get infections easily. Okay? All right. the body produces certain compounds that acts like antibiotics and antibiotic agents it is getting from the sun. It enhances muscle mass and muscle strength, and even the heart muscle. Okay, so how much time do we spend indoors? We need
Too
to
much.
get outside, and I know there's lots of stuff going on outside that we want to avoid, but we do what we're supposed to do. God will protect and keep us, and you know what He needs to do for us. But we cannot keep staying inside. God created God. Where did Adam and Eve? Where did God put Adam and Eve when He created them? He put them in a house.
In the garden.
No.
He put them in a garden. And where do gardens usually exist?
Outside.
Outside. That means there is no different from us today. We mess up when we stay inside all the time. We have got to get outside and get some sun. Okay? Let me go back to that. Okay. It is the UVB or the ultraviolet B sun exposure from which you derive most of your vitamin D3. Sunlight will provide 90 to 95% of the individual's need. It is best to get vitamin D from outdoors and not a pill. But how many of us do this?
I've never bought
Not-
vitamin D in a bottle.
Say it again.
I've never bought vitamin D in a bottle.
Praise the
Amen.
Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise God. So your dietary sources of vitamin D are salmon, mackerel, sardines, cod liver oil, egg yolks. I don't know why. I need to retype that out. Fortified milk, cereals, orange juice, yogurts, margarines. You see anything that looks right in this? Not right, but do you see any kind of trend in this?
Mm-hmm.
What's the trend?
Yeah.
Okay, so on this side is animal products, right?
Yeah.
And so where do the animals get their vitamin D from?
Sun.
Okay, all right. Excuse me. What about on the other side? What's similar on this side here?
Milk, yogurts,
Okay.
margarine,
Margarine.
butter, that's all animal product.
Okay, they're all animal products, but even in cereal and excuse me, and orange juice. What do all of these things have in common?
They have.
They were grown outside.
No.
Oh.
Well,
They're pasteurized.
they're not, yes, they're pasteurized, but let's think about it, even, they've all been fortified with vitamin D.
Mm.
Every single one of them, they synthetically put vitamin D in,
Mm.
okay?
I drink a lot of orange juice.
All right, so be careful with, you know. All right, I already discussed that. Let's keep going. Okay, how would you know if your vitamin D levels are low? You can go and get a test. It's called the 25-hydroxy vitamin D test. It's a non-fasting test, which means that you don't need to fast to go and get that test. And you can ask your doctor, and if they don't want to get the test, you can go to a private lab and ask them for the test, and they should be able to get that information for you. Okay? So you're going to spending 15 minutes or to 45 minutes to 1.5 hours a day in the sun. It depends on how light or dark your skin is. Okay? The darker the skin is, the longer you have to sit in the sun for you to be able to absorb the amount of vitamin D that you need for your body to process it. If you are fair skinned, the shorter the time. Now that doesn't mean if you have a garden and you need to be outside all day for that, then fine, you do that. One of the issues that we have though is, especially fair skin, but not just fair skin, if we expose many parts of our body when we go outside, it can do harm to the body. Okay? The only places on our body that are fit to be exposed to the sun on a long-term basis is our face and our hands. Our face and our hands. So you know, everybody knows when it turns to summertime, what does everybody do?
Go
Tan.
outside and tan.
Everybody go outside, oh, we got a tan, and then half of those people, what do they say? Oh, well, you need to go and get the sunscreen and protect you against the sun because the sun can give you skin cancer. No, it was the toxins in the body that can give you skin cancer.
Or in the lotion.
Well, yes, in the lotion as well. But what happens is, what do we say the sun is? It's a purifier, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you get your clothes, you wash them, and you decide you want to put them on the line, your clothes are going to be sanitized before you bring them back in the house, right? So the sun is going to do the same thing. The sun is going to do the same thing for the body. If it is that we're going outside and there's sickness going on in the body, and we decide we want to go outside half dressed or disrobed or whatever the case may be, then those impurities are going to come out. And then we're going to start getting things that we don't want. Not because of the sun, but because of how sick we already are. Okay? How sick we already are. So it's best when you go out in the sun, you pay attention, go to other cultures that work outside in the sun. We used to do it. They're fully covered. They are fully covered. Why? Because they understand the concept of what the sun is there for.
Can you explain what fully covered means?
Fully covered means evenly clad, having on a layer of clothing that covers you from your wrist, all the way to your feet. Okay, and we already talked about circulation, but now this is talking about getting protection from the sun and allowing those areas that need the sun to absorb in that vitamin D for our bodies to process it down to where we can fully utilize it. Okay? Do we understand that? Makes sense, right? We don't really think about those kind of things. It's like, wait a minute. So the people in these foreign countries that go outside and they cover themselves when they're outside for 7 or 8 hours, they know what they're doing. I'm sure that they don't have issues with skin cancer. Okay? All right. How much time does a person need outdoors to daily to get the appropriate amount of sun? We already talked about it. Lighter skinned people, 15 to 30 minutes. Dark skinned people, 45 minutes to 1.5 hours. And I will also say there are different things that you can take that will cause skin sensitivity. Or sun sensitivity. So just because
like
you have
sunscreen, you mean? No?
No, I'm saying different medications.
Oh, okay.
There are different medications that allow you to have sun sensitivity as well as your liver not functioning properly. Okay? So that's a whole different dilemma, but when it comes to that, God has a remedy. He always has a remedy. Do a liver detox. Clean the body. And then you'll be able to work your way up and build your way up to where you can stay out in the sun longer. All right, let's continue here. Sorry, lots of time. Got it. Okay. Okay, so here's talking about the sun sensitivity. They're not used to being in the sun all the time. Medications, particular illnesses, vitamin D deficiencies. And so you want to, over a period of time, you want to get the sunlight gradually, supplement at first, and then you slowly come off of the vitamin D supplements and get your full sun outside. And then also you want to avoid getting sunburn. And we've already talked about the sunburn and making sure that you're covered so that when you go outside, those things aren't happening. Okay. So what else happens when we get sun? And it goes through our eyes. It improves and stimulates the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus, and the neurotransmitters in the brain. All of these things. Are we not fearfully and wonderfully made? Mm-hmm. I feel really bad for those people that think that we were not created by a God. Like, there's absolutely no way that these things can happen just because, All right. It also stimulates the liver function. It increases the white blood cell counts and strengthens the T helper cells. Okay, it helps to fight against infection and germs. Okay, the daylight hours, the pineal gland synthesizes serotonin. In the absence of light, it converts serotonin to melatonin, and the serotonin level falls and the melatonin level rises at night. The balance between the serotonin and the melatonin seems to affect mood and other physiological functions. So when you have somebody that's irritated all the time, you might want to see if they can go and get their vitamin D checked, right? Sometimes, many times, that's the cause of why they may be irritated, okay? There's of course other reasons why, but
That'll deplete you of it as well, synthetics.
it won't, what do you mean, of your vitamin D?
Mm-hmm.
It
Or your
won't
other vitamins.
It's not good to supplement. If you're getting your supplements, they need to be plant-based. You're getting them from herbs, from superfoods, things that, you might, moringa, all of those kind of things are nice because they give you a strong, complete, balanced, food, if you understand what I'm saying, compared to, okay, I'm just gonna give you this. I'm just gonna give you vitamin D. I'm just gonna give you, and it doesn't mean that you can't do those things every once in a while, but to supplement, what it does over time is it depletes us of those natural things we should be making ourselves. Okay? So it's very important to just have a whole food diet. Whole food plant-based diet is so important for the body. Because now your body can do what it needs to do, assimilate the nutrients when you take it in, and then what it needs, it takes it in. What it doesn't need, it just comes out. Okay? All right. Okay. So what does the light represent? The sun. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. Okay, Malachi chapter 4. So let's look at proper rest, and I think this is the last one. Nope, there's one more, but I'll make it fast, okay? On the seventh day God rested. Okay, and the Lord gave unto Israel all the land which he swore to give unto their fathers, and they possessed it and dwelt therein. And the Lord gave them rest round about according to all that he sware unto their fathers. And there stood not a man of all their enemies before them. The Lord delivered all their enemies into their hand. So he's asking us to enter into his rest. Okay? So after he created, he made heaven and earth, and all that in them was, he rested on the seventh day. And so rest now has even more of a meaning than what we would think. We say usually, oh yes, get a proper sleep at night. Okay, well that's nothing but an example as to the larger scheme of what God is trying to teach each one of us. Okay? Matthew 11:28, come unto me all ye that are labored and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. What other law of health or key of health does this also entail? Come unto me, all ye that... That's right.
Spiritualist.
Okay, but which law of health would that be under? Trusting in God. That's right. That's right. Trusting in God. Okay. So when we get sleep at night, this is for people that decide that they want to work between the hours of 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. when our body should actually be resting. Okay? Don't push it yet. There's too much inconsistency with sleeping hours, and the body keeps no track of time. So, did God decide to make us? Are we considered to be nocturnal creatures?
No.
No, right? He created us to be the opposite of that. Okay, diurnal creatures, right? But we understand there are jobs that are a necessity for somebody to work in the hospital system. There are emergencies that happen in the middle of the night. Okay? So there are some jobs that people need to have. That doesn't mean that we need to have those jobs, but some people need to have those jobs, right? Okay? I remember when my husband used to work at night.
Graveyard shift, huh, brother?
irritated,
Yep.
angry, frustrated, impatient, all of the above, 24/7. He couldn't get any sleep, even though he was at home, it was quiet, he had a, 8-hour time period that he needed to get his sleep and whatever, but he could not possibly get all of his sleep. And then what, especially when you work in the medical field, they won't say, oh, you work an 8-hour shift. No, you're gonna work a 12-hour shift.
Mm-hmm.
So the time that you're at home, all you get to do is sleep, right? So it just messes up
And
everything.
it's not the same sleep.
It's not the same sleep. He has at least 2 friends during that time that also worked on the night shift, and both of them have had multi heart attacks, many different heart attacks, not just one, multiple. Okay, all right. Okay, so if it is that you do have to work at night, you need to live like you're a nocturnal creature. Do you understand what that means? All of the stuff that you would normally do at night or in the daytime is what you need to do now, all the time at night. Okay? That is the only way, and it doesn't mean that that is approved. It just means that you have to, your body cannot do the switcheroo 24/7, back and forth, back and
Be
forth.
careful the
No, it
baby.
can't.
It cannot do that. Yes.
And I do have a question, or probably, I don't know if it's a comment, but, so when you travel, let's say when I travel to the Philippines, right? They are 12 hours ahead, so right now it's around 6:52 in the morning.
Caleb,
You know, the only way that I think it would really work, your body's balance is having that sunlight also change around with that sleep cycle. So when you get to the Philippines, within 3 or 4 days,
Yes.
you can readjust
That's right.
to a new sleeping
That's
hour.
right. That's right.
Because, again, it takes you like 3 or 4, sometimes a week
Yes.
to adjust.
Yes. Yes.
But I've stayed there for a month at a time. After about 2 weeks,
You're
you
fine.
can turn your body around to
That's
a different
right.
sleeping cycle.
That's
But keep
right.
in mind that even though it's a different sleeping cycle, the sun is still shining at a different time.
That's right.
So I think the sun kind of help you to
That's right.
readjust.
That's right.
But
That's right.
I know people who's done night shift for 30, 40 years, and they tell me that, it's very hard and
Very
difficult.
hard. Yes.
And even a lot of them are very sick too.
Very.
Yeah.
Very. Because there is, your body, again, God created each one of us. God created all of his creation was here to coexist, okay, with something else. Okay, and if we look at what God made on each day at the beginning of time, he made whatever was needed for that thing, he made prior to that day. Okay? So when it comes to us getting what we need, our bodies need sunshine to be able to produce that melatonin and that serotonin, or the serotonin, which is now transferred into melatonin. Okay, so everything works with each other. All right, so absolutely, yes. Once you, brethren, you said it, when you said that your body adjusts when the sun is there.
Yeah.
But we're talking about now like a synthetic, when we just have to stay up in the middle of the night, and we don't have to. Sometimes you hear people that have prayed and asked the Lord, please let them come out of this shift that they're working, and God will bless. He will bless to where you can still do what you need to do, but not sacrifice your health, because at the end of the day, you are sacrificing your health when you work overnight. Okay? All right. Okay. Melatonin is the body's natural antioxidant and tumor suppressant. Uh-oh. Melatonin is what? The body's natural antioxidant and tumor suppressant? Okay. Studies in Denmark and U.S. show that for females, its lack increases breast cancer by how much? 50 to 50%. 55%. And colon cancer, 45 to 50%. And for the men's prostate cancer, 45 to 50%. And colon cancer by 45 to 50%. just when we're not getting enough melatonin. But where does it all start from? Not getting enough sun.
Sleep.
And not, now, right? Not getting enough sun, right? And then because you didn't get enough sun, then the serotonin will not properly transform into the melatonin, and now we can't get enough sleep. And now we're sick all the time.
Vicious.
A very vicious cycle. Okay? And we say, oh, these things are so simple. Yes, they are so simple, but they're so profound at the same time. Okay? Sunlight helps to reset the body's biorhythm. When the sun goes through the iris to the pineal gland, it helps to reset the body's biological clock. All right? Hormones, the body's rhythm and patterns are then balanced and set into place. It is best to sleep in a dark room as light will affect our sleep. The only color light that does not affect the body is blue light. Okay? So that means that if it is that, you have to get up in the middle of the night because you have to use the restroom, the best, night light to have is a soft blue light. And you don't put it in your room where you sleep, and you put it in the hallway or wherever it is so that you can have that direction to the bathroom or wherever you need to go. Okay? In the evening, the melatonin is high and the serotonin is low. The body temperature reduces and it begins to tone down when it's dark and sleep sets in. Okay, the cortisol's peak production time is from midnight to early morning. It plays a large role in helping us deal with the stresses of each day, reducing inflammation and fatigue, among many other benefits. When people go to bed late, they hurt themselves by limiting the body's ability to repair, wear, and tear of the day, and lessen the energy and vitality of tomorrow. So this is, again, vicious cycle, and this is the reason why it is that we say, okay, we got to get into bed at a decent time every night, okay? Because it's not just, oh yeah, I need to sleep. It's because our bodies can't heal. Our bodies cannot heal if we don't do that. Our bodies cannot produce cortisol. All right? I'm going to skip some things here. I know this is a lot of good information, but all right. So I'm just going to keep going. We've already discussed this. Grief, anxiety, discontent, remorse, guilt, distrust, all tend to break down the life forces and invite decay and death. And even God rested from his works. Okay? Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry, gotta skip some things here. Okay.
No.
Water. I'm gonna skip through this too a lot, okay? All right. What is the function of water? It's resistance to temperature change. Okay? So if someone is extremely hydrated, dehydrated, it helps with blood circulation, body fluids, pH balance, chemical reactions. It expels impurities from the blood, and it cools the body. Okay, functions of water in the body: helps with circulation, keeps the body temperature in normal range, and the evaporation of the water on the surface of the skin helps to bring the temperature down. This is the reason why we should be sweating. So what does that say about antiperspirants? Don't use them. Don't use them. That's right. Okay. Oops. Okay. Water produces fluid that constantly moistens the eyes. It's needed to lubricate and cushion nourishing the bones and the joints, and it's necessary for the production of saliva and digestive juices, and it relieves mental and physical fatigue. Okay, so what that said was that your body is at least 70% water, your brain is at least 80% water. Okay? Alright. Okay, so all of these organs or systems in the body need water on a constant basis. Your circulatory system, your digestive system, your elimination system, and your temperature control. Okay. So we need it for respiration, for digestion, and for saliva tears, temperature control, and even flexibility. Okay. All right. If the kidneys did not receive water or recycle water, we would have to drink about 800 glasses of water a day. That's a lot of water. That's a lot. Okay? So our bodies consist of 60,000 miles of blood vessels. This will circle the equator 2.5 times. The red blood cells travel through the blood vessels at a speed of 43.5 miles an hour. So they're moving pretty fast in our vessels. The blood in our human vessels. It's moving pretty fast, right? Okay. Is it good to eat and drink at the same time?
I didn't hear that.
Is it good to eat and drink at the same time?
No.
No, that's right. The more liquid we take into the stomach for that meal, it slows down our digestion, okay? So it's good to have at least 2 cups of water. What are you doing? It's good to have at least 2 cups of water before we eat anything in the morning, okay? As soon as we get up in the morning, it's good to drink at least 2 cups of water. Warm water with lemon juice is awesome for health. Awesome for health. Okay. Come on. Okay. So you drink at least 30 minutes before your breakfast and 2 hours after your meal. So 30 minutes before a meal, 2 hours after a meal. You want to drink water throughout the day and 20 minutes before bedtime, or you can go even, if it is that you're having issues with diabetes, kidney, whatever it is, you might want to stop drinking at maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock. Okay, that'll help to where you're not going back and forth to the restroom prior to you while you're when you go to bed. Okay. All right. Okay. I think let me see. Okay, so trusting in temperance. So we say temperance is what we use, those things that are used judiciously that we can use. And also the things that we should not use, we stay away from. We abstain from. Do we understand that principle? Okay. So it's pretty much having a balanced life. Not overdoing things that we should not do. Right? Not overstudying. Not overeating. Not oversleeping. Did you know we can oversleep? Okay? Not undersleeping. Okay? Or things that we should not consume or to do is not drinking any alcohol, right? Or not doing drugs, or not doing those things. Having a balanced life, all right? Okay. I'm skipping some things here because I want to get to the last one so we go and close out. Okay, this is consuming sugar that lacks vitamin B, B vitamins from the body. It takes more nutrients to break down sugar than nutrients that the body brings in when we consume sugar. Okay? All right. This is just talking about the blood cell or the bacteria that are destroyed by white blood cells when it is that we consume this amount of tablespoons of sugar per day. All right?
Yeah.
That's what technically happens if we're drinking from a cow. So we should just cut out the middleman. So consuming those things that are not healthy for us over a period of time, they're gonna cause bad. We're gonna reap the benefits or the effects of it. Okay. All right. Okay. Come on. Okay. Almost done. I just want to get to the diet right quick and then we'll close out. So having a balanced life, having regular eating times is important. Regular times to do everything in our life is important. Proper diet, doesn't that look good? Yes?
Yes.
No?
Yeah, not right now.
Okay, all right, this is our last thing we're going to cover. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, and in the which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed to you, it shall be for meat. So after sin, God modified the diet to include plants themselves. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth unto thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. Genesis 3:18. We already know what nutrition means. It is the science or study that deals with food and nourishment, especially in humans. So, pretty much what scientists found out that all of the elements made known to man that is in the body is the identical same nutrients or elements that make up the soil. Isn't that amazing? So wouldn't it make sense for us to consume the things that come from the soil? Because we're going to get all the nutrients that we need, okay? All right, so magnesium, calcium, sodium, iodine, sulfur, phosphorus, potassium, iron, chloride, and zinc. And so we should consume those foods that have a root system that come from the soil, okay? So dust composed of all the elements compose our food. The food builds the blood builds the cells build the tissue, and the tissues build organs, and man is composed of organs. Makes sense, right? All right. Okay. Let me see here. Okay. The life of the flesh is in the blood. Okay, so consumption of meat on the brain, saturated fats and cholesterol clogs the arteries of the brain and depresses the electrical activity of the frontal lobe, but it stimulates the lower or coronal centers of the brain. What does that mean, to stimulate the lower or coronal centers of the brain?
Increases?
Okay, it increases it, but what are the lower or coronal centers of the brain?
What you told me.
Anybody? It means those things that are flesh, the lusts, right? The anger, the impatience, right? Those kind of things. Acting aggressively. This is what happens when we consume large amounts of meat, or we eat a meat diet, okay? All right. We already know about cancer. Okay, so this is the diet that God has given us. Fruits, nuts, grains, vegetables, and you can put the grains with, the beans with, with the nuts as well, or you can put them with the grains. They're in the same family. Okay? All right, so consider what we eat. So we know that whatever we eat, we're going to become that, right? All right, so what were the reasons that God created, or not created, but He permitted flesh in the diet? For emergency food. It was for emergency food because Noah, and his family had to go into the ark. They were in the ark for almost a year. They could not plant food. Okay, so He allowed for them to consume meat products for that reason, and also to shorten man's life. Okay, all right. So, what did God tell Noah to do? To bring in 7 of the clean and 2 of each of the unclean, right? Okay. All right. So this is what happened prior to the flood. Prior to the flood, and I know that Brother Yudi talked about this a little bit earlier. Prior to the flood, they were living 969, 950 years, 910 years, 930. The shortest time was probably Enoch, but you had Mahalalel, who lived to 895 years prior to the flood, which means these people were eating a completely plant-based diet. Okay? Let's look what happened after the flood. Oh, what a stark difference. You see that? Shem lived 600 years. Selah lived 433 years. The shortest time was 148 years, Nahor. And the longest time was Shem, 600 years. So what a huge difference took place after they started to consume meat. After the flood. Okay? So the average lifespan here was 317 years. However, the average lifespan for them prior to the flood was 912 years. What a huge difference. All right? So, these are the restrictions. If we're saying we're Christians now, according to the Bible in Leviticus, these are the restrictions that needed to be there for an individual to consume meat. It had to have been drained of all the blood. It had to have no fat. And it had to be eaten in 3 days. How many Christians do we know today that abide by any or all of these principles? Does not exist. Okay? And yes, I know that the thought is out there that, oh, well, we're not going against that. Paul talked about how it's okay, and Peter said, he had the dream. Like, there's many different things that people will use as an excuse. However, science has proven that a diet that is high in animal foods will create and produce disease. Every single time. Every single time. Okay. All right. So this is another principle too that a lot of people don't talk about. You have your arachidonic acid, and that decreases the ability of the frontal lobe function. Wow. What is the frontal lobe? That's right. Right. That's where the judgment seat is. That's where we make all of our good choices, or we choose not to make good choices. That's where our reasoning takes place. Okay? That's where our principles, when we learn them and we keep them, that's where it starts. It's in our frontal lobe. That is also where our Creator speaks to us. It's in the frontal lobe. So why would it be now, because we've been talking a lot about the powers that be and how they are doing lots of things to bring about harm to creation of humanity. Why would it be that now we're going to make sure and force people to eat lots of animal products? There's something more at stake here. There's something more at play in the background. Okay? All right? So of course, cancers, tumors, and pulmonary disease are largely caused by meat eating. And so in Genesis 1:29, he said, "See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that it is on the face of the earth. On the face of all the land, and every tree which seed in it is fruit. You shall have them for food." Doesn't that look good? So you have your nuts, you have your grains, and your legumes. You have grains and starches, and you have your fruit. Okay, and vegetables. So vegetables came after sin entered the world. Come on. Okay. So what does your ideal food plan look like? Your fruit, your vegetables, your whole grains, and as much unrefined food as possible, and then your seeds and your nuts. Okay, so say for instance, if you're we're gonna go into this more in detail tomorrow, but a breakfast would be a cooked grain and 2 or 3 kinds of fruit, up to 4 different kinds of fruit, almonds and or seeds, pumpkin seeds, whatever. Your lunch would be a grain or a starch, and a steamed vegetable, and a raw salad or a vegetable. And your dinner, if you do consume that third meal, would be fruit and or grain, or bread or crackers or something like that. Okay, and it should be very light. Now we will talk more in detail if we have time tomorrow. Like you said, what does your grocery list look like? What should you be consuming to make sure you're getting those balanced elements in your diet that you need to consume every single day? Because a lot of people go plant-based and they end up being malnourished because they do not understand how to put those foods together, okay? And you can be very depleted quickly if it is that you do not know how to eat a well-balanced diet. The only reason why people that eat an animal-based diet think that they're eating a well-balanced diet is because the animals that they're consuming ate a well-balanced diet, and so now you're going to eat it and you're getting the nutrients from them as opposed to you going and getting and assimilating that nutrients yourself. Okay? God gave them what they eat. If it is that mankind gives them the proper foods, they know what they need to consume. You put a cow out there in a pasture, he will know that he needs to eat the grass. You won't ever see him standing up to go and try to eat the top of the trees. He knows what he needs to do. We're not going to talk about goats. But most things in nature, if they're given the chance to, they will eat what it is that God designed for them to eat. It is only humanity that has chosen not to eat the things that God has designed. And we have to, when I look back and I'm like, Lord, how did this happen? The further and further we come away from God's original plan, is the further and further away that we are not fully understanding what God has created and how he's balanced everything. But he's merciful. And so in his mercy, as we understand and we learn more about how to keep our bodies healthy, he will bring us back into his original plan, the way that he's designed it to be, so that we can reap wonderful benefits. It is so amazing. We serve such a wonderful God. So I'm going to end right there. I guess I must have cut a whole lot of stuff off at the end because I knew we were going to be out of time. But are there any questions or thoughts or anything from anyone? Pretty self-explanatory, right?
Yes.
It just makes lots of sense. But we just don't think about it. And so I'm thankful that we serve a God that's given us the ability to continue to learn and grow. And as we continue to learn and grow, he continues to give us more mercy and more grace so that we can use these things and apply them in our everyday life and reap bountiful benefits from what he has blessed each one of us with. Amen?
Amen.
All right, we're going to close out with a word of prayer and get ready for wrapping everything else up. All right. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your divine presence in our lives. We are just asking that you would help each one of us to know more, Lord. Know more, that you would help us to gain more wisdom, more knowledge, more understanding, that we may be able to keep your, not just your spiritual laws, but your physical laws. That we would know these things and be able to share them with others so that they can obtain and receive the blessings that you want each one of us to have. We thank you for this evening. We ask that you would just continue to watch over us and keep us, cover us, and help us to know that you are with us in all times. We love you, we thank you, and we ask these things in no other name but Jesus Christ, who we pray. Amen.
Any questions?